Stevie, it seems a no-brainer, doesn't it? Play Pogba further up the pitch and Manchester United are a better team. So why doesn't Mourinho do this all the time?
I have absolutely no idea. You know, we've been talking about this for months, that you have to get this guy further up. Not only that, I think Mourinho has to come up with something. If Lukaku's not the answer, he has to come up with a centre-forward and keep him there. And if it's Rashford, fair enough, but give him a chance. Because if you can get Pogba forward, I think Pogba's at his best when he's linking up with somebody, when he's linking up with a centre-forward. Today, he linked up pretty well with Martial and Lingard. But I think against better sides, he needs a real focal point so he can link with them, and then you'll see the best of them.
I think Mourinho said he thinks something like 3 weeks for Lukaku,
right,
give or take. But maybe it's an opportunity. Well, it is an opportunity for a Martial, for a Rashford. And maybe that movement from Martial, that's clearly different from Lukaku. He's a little quicker. It's not natural for him, but he moves around a little bit more and maybe creates that little bit more space.
You know, I always think one of the problems with Man United is there's no real partnerships around the field, because every single time as a Man United team steps on the field, there's changes. And when you keep changing, you're never going to get partnerships. And I think that's a huge problem, and one of the reasons why they don't perform the way they can.
If I'm a Man United fan, Dan, I don't want to watch a game. And they've had some poor, you know, there was the Southampton game, there was the loss to Bristol City, there was the Leicester game, they were down to 10 men. I don't want to see Paul Pogba, right, 60 yards from goal, trying to spray some worldly pass over the top. He can do it, but it's only going to pay off once in a blue moon, right? If I'm a defender or a midfielder, I'm delighted if he's there. He's like, I can see him, he's in front of me, I can drop off him, we can get a shape. But if he's in that final third, little step overs, little flicks, we saw that ball to Martial with the outside of the right boot, little intricate passes through, or getting in the box off across from the wide position because he's a big, strong boy. Even if he doesn't get on the end of it, if I'm a defender, if I see him coming, I'm kind of drawn towards him a little bit because he's such a threat, and it might allow a bit of room for other people. But I certainly don't think I want to see him 60 yards from my own goal, which is where we're...
So why does he do it?
He just doesn't trust his players. He's always about making sure it's safety first. It's making sure that we don't give anything away. As opposed to, how about, I've got some real good players here, some players who, in the attacking third, can win games. That's not how he thinks. He doesn't think that way. And if he sits down and re-watches this game and sees what Pogba does when he's in the final third, if he doesn't see it, you said earlier, is it a no-brainer? It's an absolute no-brainer.
But Steve, he didn't need today. Surely he didn't need that performance from Pogba today to tell him something that we already know.
Of course he does. He needs to see it with his own eyes. And he needs his staff, by the way. See, this is where you need the right staff around you. You don't need 3 or 4 yes men. Every time you open your mouth, they nod their head and agree. He needs somebody beside him to say, look, we're wasting this. Number one, we're wasting this guy playing him where we're playing him. And number two, we're actually hurting the team not playing him further forward as well. If he doesn't have one of them, then guess what? You're going to see Pogba further back again.
You know, on Saturday, Dan, against Southampton, you could have thrown a blanket over Nemanja Matic and Paul Pogba. Against Southampton at home, they're cannon fodder. They were there for the taking. Let's have a second half of the season, right? 2018's here. United, they're not going to win the title, you know, but they've got some big games to play. They've got Champions League to play. They've got FA Cup to play. Let's see United say, we've got a holding midfielder, one of the best in the league, by the way, that they pinched off Chelsea, Nemanja Matic. Let him do that holding role, and let's see Pogba released, both domestically and in Europe, to go and showcase his talents. That's what I want for 90 million. I don't want him in a halfway line.
Philippe Coutinho, not even in the squad. Apparently it was a thigh knock. However, Spanish newspapers this weekend saying the door is open for Coutinho, said Sport, the Catalan newspaper. Meanwhile, Mundo Deportivo saying that Coutinho is already looking for houses in Barcelona. We welcome Sid Lowe to the show from Madrid. Sid, could this happen this month?
I don't think it's impossible. I think that there's a big gap and a big difference between there being a possibility of this happening and some of the things that have been suggested now that it's done, it's not done. I think what's happened, and I think you can see this in the reporting that's been done in Catalonia in particular, is that Barcelona believe they have a sense of the kind of fee that it would take to get him now. And they have a sense, or they believe at least, and they may well have read this wrong because in the summer they consistently got it wrong. They have a sense that Liverpool would be willing now. Now, in part, that's interpretive rather than informative. It's not because they've been told this. It's because they're reading the signs. It's because they have a sense that this is where Liverpool are going. And they think that that fee would be around about 140 million euros plus quite a lot more in objectives. I mean, we're talking about a total fee of, in all probability, way over 160, 170 million euros. Now, that's not to say they're necessarily going to do this, but bear in mind that Barcelona wanted Coutinho in the summer. They know that Coutinho wanted to come, so there's a kind of a moral obligation to him as well to try and force this through. But there is, and there's no getting away from this, there is a debate within Barcelona about whether this is really the right thing to do, about whether they can really commit this kind of money to a player that would block the progress of Denis Suarez. And I know, obviously, Denis Suarez is nowhere near in the same league, that maybe blocks the progress of Sergio Roberto, that maybe right now, for at least for as long as Andres Iniesta is playing well, kind of doesn't necessarily become an automatic first choice of player, although admittedly he would very quickly. So this isn't decided, and even if it was decided, it's not that easy to get done, but it's certainly not impossible.
Are you surprised that's even a conversation?
Yeah, I don't see this.
Barcelona have had a great start to the season, absolutely flying, defied their critics. So is there a situation, as Sid says, that if you spend all this money, bring in Coutinho, that it might just upset the apple cart?
Not at all. Why? You're bringing in absolute quality. And really, Denis Suarez is not even close to getting anywhere near where Coutinho is. I don't see how that Roberto gets knocked back either. Listen, this is Barcelona. Barcelona have to be up there all the time. And the only thing that happens if they get Coutinho is it makes them stronger and better. So why would you not do it?
I remember in the summer there was a period in which you get very red and very angry and say, come on, Liverpool.
What was red?
It's time for the owners to make a statement.
And they did.
And not sell Coutinho.
And they did.
Do you still have the same feelings with regards to a possible move?
I think the move's going to happen in the summer. I think the Fenway Group made a statement. But I think the fact that Coutinho has turned round and performed the way he has shown his loyalty to Liverpool. He definitely wants to go to Barcelona. And I think if this offer that Sid's talking about comes in the summer, I think Liverpool would be foolish not to take it.
What if he goes now?
It makes no sense. He can't play in the Champions League for Barcelona, and Liverpool have to make sure they get in the top 4 this season. So, you know, Liverpool, I mean, it makes no sense for Liverpool that he goes in January. Absolutely none. I think this is going to happen in the summer.
If Barcelona are as desperate as it seems and are willing to pay, they'll pay it in the summer. Makes no sense, as Stevie said. Makes no sense. He will help their bid to stay ahead in the La Liga domestic title race, which he would clearly improve their team. But there's no Champions League football for him in a Barcelona shirt. And I can't help but feeling that one of the things that have been said in the quiet to Coutinho is, look, help us this season.
Yeah.
We've got some irons in the fire. Just help us out domestically. As Stevie said, the bread and butter is the top 4. Then next summer, we'll grant you your wish.
Yeah.
Right? And I can't see anything other than in the summer, Coutinho going to Barcelona. I would be shocked if he moved this January. Absolutely shocked.
See, the boys make a good point, don't they, in a sense that, look, Barca are going to win La Liga. He can't play in the Champions League. Why push it through now? Why not wait until the summer?
Yeah. This happens quite often, actually, that you see deals pushed through when you can't really see a logical reason to do it. And I think one of the reasons is that clubs are concerned that the market can move in the meantime. The clubs are concerned that the promises that are made to them, unless they're written down, unless it's a written clause, and of course this is what we saw with Luis Suarez when he renewed with Liverpool, it's what we've seen with Antoine Griezmann when he renewed with Atletico Madrid last year, that there were clauses inserted in that new deal that made it watertight. Now this is one of the things that happens, of course, is that for as long as that's not there, people are concerned that things may change, that people are concerned that other suitors may come in, that the price may be driven up, that the market may shift. And so there is sometimes a sense that let's do it now, even if in a way these kind of extra 4 or 5 months are almost relevant. But exactly, the boys make a perfectly logical point. Not just actually, as Craig was saying, it just doesn't make any sense for Liverpool. It doesn't really make a huge amount of sense for Coutinho, except that it would end any fear. It would end any concern that this might fall apart at some stage if they were to wait.
Sid, I mentioned before the break the possibility of Eden Hazard going to Real Madrid, discussed on our Transfer Talk page. Any chance of this happening?
Yeah, I mean, the very fact that it's his dad that's intimating that he wants to wait and see on his Chelsea contract because he wants to make it possible for Real Madrid to come for him, if indeed they do, tells you that there's something in this, that, you know, the source is a good one and it's a public one. And bear in mind the context of this, which is in the summer that's just gone, Real Madrid had in the build-up to that, spoken to Hazard. They felt that there was a strong possibility of trying to bring him to Real Madrid. There was agreement over what would be the personal terms for him. But, of course, as often is forgotten in football, there are three sides to every deal. You have to have both clubs and the player. It was very, very difficult to get him out of Chelsea. So what Hazard's father is essentially saying now is that he wants to try and create a situation in which it would be easier to do so if this situation arises. Madrid are keen, Zidane really likes him, and of course, from his point of view, it's a chance to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah, but then you've got too many players, I mean, you said. You've got Bale, Benzema, Ronaldo,
yes,
Hazard, Isco. People's going to have to make way, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a flippant answer to that, Dan, as you know, which is when has that ever bothered them, having too many really, really great players. And, of course, there's an element of truth in that. Also, you have to remember the age of Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, I'm not saying that he's coming towards the end necessarily, but it's certainly the transition to a kind of a post-Ronaldo era has to be thought about. There are doubts about Benzema in a way that there never were before. Even with the enormous amount of support that he's had from the manager and the president, there are doubts about Bale, and they want to see how he performs this year, in particular whether he can stay fit. And, you know, I think there's sadness rather than irritation with Bale over everything that's happened over the last year and a half or so with the injury. I think that the worrying thing from Madrid's point of view would be, how do you do this with Isco and Asensio in particular? Because these are guys who, in theory at least, should be at the very top of the Spanish game for the next 6 or 7 years.
Welcome to Extra Time. Do you want to give a shout-out to the fire department, Stevie?
Yeah, I believe they were round at my house earlier on today. Put some embers in the bucket and it caught fire.
Everything's all right now?
Everything's fine. They came round and put it out.
Good. Good start to the year.
Yeah, they're not busy enough, are they, you know?
I actually,
No emergencies out there, just Stevie's bucket.
I actually tried to put it out myself before I left.
Right.
Because there was flames coming out of it.
OK.
So I started off with buckets of water because the hose was frozen.
Right.
And then I realised there was like 16 million gallons of snow lying around. So I fired all the snow into it.
So then what happened? You left it
Well, I
still...
drove off.
You just like had left it? Because you thought, well, you've got to come to work.
Well, my wife said, look, I'm not happy. I think you should phone it. I'm like, I've just filled it with snow. It'll go out. And I came to work and I got a phone call. I called the fire brigade. It started flaming again.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Have you got to pay for that?
I don't think so. Oh, that's what your taxes are for, isn't it?
Is that?
Well, what's the difference between that and your house burning down? You've got to say, I'm sorry, sir, your house is burning down. That'll be $200.
Yeah, but if you call the ambulance out, you've got
You
to
should be
pay for
fighting
it.
for stupidity. What the bloody fire brigade for a wheelie, a trash can. Seriously?
Well, I wouldn't
How
have done
embarrassing is that?
Oh, would you rather the house went up and it was something proper?
You know, it was no. You know that bin because you told me that trash can. What's the right terminology here?
Trash can.
We call it a wheelie bin in the UK.
Yeah, trash
can. It was yards from his house.
Yep.
Well, I moved it.
Should we get on with this?
Go on, then.
Only in his world.
Sid's here, everyone. Do you think Barca can get both Coutinho and Griezmann? And if they can't get both, then which one would you take?
Well, the more pressing need at the moment, I suppose, is for an extra midfielder, but they're very well aware of the fact that Luis Suarez is possibly not that far from the very end of his career. They think Griezmann, by the way, is very easy to get because in the summer his buyout clause will come down to €100 million, so they think it's simple, there's no arguments, there's no battle, you just go and get him. So they believe that both are possible, but it depends basically on Coutinho being possible.
If Stevie Nicol said, there's a fair chance Sid would have jumped on a flight and came over and sorted that out.
Because he loves...
He does love it. He does. Sid does got...
So how would you have dealt with it?
Just love Stevie.
Listening to your description of the fire, Steve, I'm reminded a little bit of Ever Banega, the time that Ever Banega was driving to training and his car caught fire. Right? No. Well, this all this all stands up. Ever Banega was driving to training, his car caught fire, and so he walked the rest of the way. And when he got there, he told the security guards, "Oh, just a little bit up the lane, there's a car on fire." He had to get to work, you see. Just leave it there.
Well, see, that's a
dedication.
That's dedication.
Your dedication.
Didn't he once run over his foot with his car as well and broke his foot?
Yeah,
How do you run over
he did.
How do you run over your own foot if you're driving a car?
Well, this is it. Well, I'm going to explain to you, Steve, how he did it. This is magnificent. He goes to a petrol station, he fills the car with petrol, but he forgot to put the handbrake on. So when he came out the petrol station, the car was rolling away very slowly. And of course, being a footballer, he thought, well, the best thing I can do is try and control this. But you don't really control a car the way you control a football.
Have you ever interviewed this guy, said, because he doesn't seem the brightest cookie on the planet?
No, he doesn't much like the media either, because I think he believes it's our fault that some of these slightly daft stories about him. And by the way, there's one more which definitely isn't on national
move
TV.
on.
Exactly. So I think he thinks it's our fault, so he doesn't want to talk to us.
Should Mkhitaryan leave Man United to go back to Dortmund or travel elsewhere? I like that.
Could travel wherever Banega, couldn't he?
I think,
Why not?
I think it was Ralph Honigstein said that in Italy, they think the sun shines.
Right.
So I think that would be the logical place to go.
Okay.
Well,
No.
Italy.
Final one. Has the curtain closed on the top 4 finish for Spurs?
No.
Well, now that Liverpool have solidified.
Well, that's what, yeah.
Well, it's just one less option for me.
No, not yet. It's going to be tight.
That's it. We're done. Excellent. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Said, what was that last Banega story?
No. No.
Do you know it?
No. Yes, I do. No. ESPN FC is
Share
back.
it.
No. ESPN FC back.
Don't listen to him.
Roll the credit. We need to get off quick. 6 p.m. Eastern. ESPN News.
Manchester United finally with a win in the Premier League under their belts, beating Everton at Goodison Park 2-0. Craig Burley here with me for this. Craig, when I was watching the first half, I was tempted to say, here we go again. It was a bit poor.
Boring?
We want to call it that, but it just seemed like they were hoping for Pogba to do some magic. But I guess in the second half, they got the goals.
It was boring, and Wayne Rooney had too much space, and the game was slow. But interesting enough, Paul Pogba played further forward, which is something sort of we touched on here at the weekend after the dire draw against Southampton at home, where he was playing, in my opinion, way too deep. So because of the changes to the personnel, the injuries, the suspensions, he played a little bit further forward. It's where I want to see him. I think where United fans want to see him more often, doing his damage in the final third, finding space behind the midfield, you know, playing those little intricate passes, getting in the box. And we started to see that more, particularly in the second half. 2 great goals. Martial, who went off after substituted, but it was a great goal. And then Lingard, who is arguably the most improved player. You know,
Can't blame Jose Mourinho for that now.
No, he's getting and I've seen some things with Lingard where he's been, you know, maybe a few months ago getting a little bit of stick from the terraces. But he's a very valuable player for them, can play in several positions, and he's consistent and scored a great goal. So it's a big win. Big win for United, particularly because of the reasons you mentioned, the results that were that have been happening for them. And
can United get excited? Can United supporters get excited now going forward?
About what?
Just about that you don't have to endure what we just endured.
Well, I think for United, like a lot of the clubs now, it's about focusing on team structure, transfer window. Don't think there'll be much activity there for the real big clubs, which United are. Champions League, keeping everybody fit, and looking forward to the end of the season and the structure of where United want to go from there in terms of who they want to bring in, the Griezmanns and the Dybalas and all these people that have been mentioned, because they're not going to close that gap.
Yeah.
That gap to City isn't going to cave in. It might close a little bit. So the league's gone, but it's focusing on the rest of the stuff, getting the structure and concentrating, as I say, FA Cup, Champions League, and going forward. So much to look forward to, but United fans, I can't tell them if they have to make their mind up about whether they're enjoying the football or not, or whether it's going to get better. I don't know. Let's see how United go in the Champions League. But a big win for them today at Everton. Not an easy place to go, and a good 3 points.
All right, thanks so much to Craig Burley. There you have it, Manchester United starting the new year on a good foot. Liverpool march on with a big win, I would like to call it, over Burnley, because Burnley are no easy side. Craig Burley here with me for this one. Craig, I mean, we kept hearing the commentators saying that this is massive win for Liverpool. How do you view it?
I thought they'd thrown it away again at the end, you know, and I think everybody, probably myself included, and my colleagues on FC were probably waiting to play the old 7 changes card.
Yeah,
You know, why did Klopp make 7 changes? They're not playing till Friday.
So you think that's enough time?
And the FA, yeah, I know there's been a lot of games, but
Yeah.
I mean, he made 7 changes is a lot to go to a place that are and a team that are tough to break down. With a game 4 days away, which is an FA Cup game against Everton, albeit. So a lot of people were waiting, had the mud ready, you know, ready to throw that, and I think rightly so. But he took a risk, and it paid off. They were the better side. Important things for them, or downside for them. Gomez again at the back post getting caught. That's something he really has to learn. And I heard some people saying to me, "Oh well, he's a centre half. He's not a full. It doesn't matter. He's a defender. Got to switch on." Got caught at Arsenal. Got caught again today. Better performance from Dejan Lovren and Klavan. You know, little kick up the backside with Van Dijk coming in.
How did that get?
Yeah,
it's coming out of your mouth.
Fair's fair, and that was better. And obviously the two of them combined for the winner. Young Trent Alexander-Arnold, again, a good performance at right back. We saw Lallana getting some game time after a long period out with fitness, getting some much-needed time under his belt. And Sadio Mane getting a goal because he's been poor by his standards of late, and he scored a wonder goal. And then, obviously, Liverpool won it late at the end, so the 7 changes don't matter. So big 3 points for Liverpool. They've been on a good run. They're playing well. They've got Van Dijk in. That was an important result for the top 4, but it was a huge risk for Klopp to take, but one that he'll sit back tonight and go, well, that paid off.
Well, there you go.
But it could easily went the other way, but it didn't.
Almost went the other way. Thanks so much to Craig Brownlee. So Liverpool as well, starting 2018 on a very good point.